All right, guys, here we go again. This time, we're back to Omnath. This game was played on the 6th of May, so just under a couple weeks ago. And just a small disclaimer, before I joined the game, which was hosted by this guy Placebo, he had a listing, I think, that he was saying something like power level 8 or below, which is sort of an arbitrary measure. But generally when I see people that are requesting a specific power level, high or low, I tend to utilize my Omnath deck, since by nature being mono-green, most people don't tend to regard this deck as being unfair, unsportsmanlike. It obviously does have a big land destruction component to it by nature being mono-green, but other than that, it seems to be pretty fair. People don't get their stuff countered. They get to generally enact their game plan, and we have a back-and-forth game. This creature combat, it feels sort of more like an actual game of Commander as opposed to just having everything destroyed, encountered, and mind twisted, and so on, which is obviously not a lot of fun for everybody. And of course, when I played this game, I was at, I think, a 41 game win streak, and in fact, it was even higher than that, really kind of effectively. I'd lost a game about 40 games before when I played against a guy who requested a casual opponent, and I played my budget 2DH deck, and he, in fact, was not playing that much of a budget deck, and just totally just out card quality me with real spells. And I struggled and eventually lost that game. But barring that game, I was actually on like an 80 game win streak, maybe even more, 84, 85 or something. And so I kind of have this bit of tension when I get a lot of games. Obviously, it's sort of ridiculous and silly to even care about this in the first place, right? It's internet points. Nobody really particularly cares. But having played Magic for as long as I have, it gives me something to strive for, and I've still got that goal in mind of trying to reach 100 games in a row won. I haven't managed to do it yet. I've gotten close. But anytime I get the win streak up into the 40s and 50s and 60s, I start to get a little bit nervous every time I sit down to play. And of course, I'm taking a risk when I play a B-tier deck as this one is. So I was hoping for a good game, and Placebo specifically asked for 8 or below, so I felt like this would be a fair thing. So off we go. He's playing... looks like Simic with this relatively new commander, Imoti, Celebrant of Bounty. 3-1. I don't think I've ever actually played against this commander before. It looks like it's actually holding a Black Lotus in his hand, which is kind of cool. But whenever it has Cascade and spells you cast with mana value 6 or greater also have Cascade. So pretty much any 6-drop or above, no matter what it is, all cascades into something smaller. And I imagine that he's got some sort of combo engine going with it, or just some sneaky thing going on with the commander itself. And Cascade's obviously a sort of bizarre ability. It's so random. Sometimes it just blows you out. Sometimes it just does nothing. You flip over a mana ramp spell or something. But either way, it's always scary to play against Cascade effects, and that is made doubly true with Omnath, where you just don't have counter magic. So looking at my hand, I'm going second this game. Plenty of mana, including Ancient Tomb, and I'm usually very reluctant to throw away a hand with Ancient Tomb because it just means I'm able to play Omnath turn 2, but the rest of this hand is just garbage. Regrowth, obviously totally useless, and the Terastodon is one of the very, very few cards you just don't want in your opening hand, because ideally you're trying to ramp this thing out with the Vision spell, Natural Order, that sacks a green creature, and in fact, by nature of having Windswept Heath, you can often do that combo where you get Dryad Arbor at the end of the turn, you untap, tap Dryad Arbor, and sack it to Natural Order into Terastodon to blow your opponent away. But I expect that my opponent's probably playing a lot of fast ramp. He's going first. It's really, really unlikely I'm going to be able to cast Terastodon before he's already kind of gone off with his commander. So with that in mind, despite having plenty of good mana, I've got to ship my hand back for a 6. Well, a 7 into a 6. And this is obviously unplayable junk. Mox Diamond 1 land, no acceleration at all. This is just much, much worse than last hand. So this pesky Regrowth came back. And then I get this hand. Wow. Yummy yum. Multiple lands, Utopia Sprawl, 2 accelerators, and even Jeweled Lotus. So this is, of course, a snap keep. The question is, what do I keep? Very tough choice. I definitely want... I want the Jiraga Tree Speaker as it's a Soul Ring. I definitely want Gilded Lotus. If I can get Omnath in play on turn 1 and start pumping it, it's sort of the sky's the limit. That means that the Green Sun Zenith is going to be a lot more important too, because it's going to give me some early interaction. And if I'm able to pump a bunch of mana in Omnath, I can go in Zenith for the really, really powerful back-breaking spells in the deck, like the Vorinclex and stuff. And so that means Finhorn Elves is definitely out. Could be Utopia Sprawl. I kind of want both lands. I could consider throwing back Penalty, but I actually don't remember what I kept here. But my instincts are that I kept the 2 land, the Draga Tree Speaker, the Lotus, and the Green Sun Zenith, and I put back the Elves and the Utopia Sprawl, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, so it actually looks like I threw the Lotus away. I guess my reasoning is that I can play Draga Tree Speaker. He is blue-green. They tend to have a lot of, well, they could have counters, they could have bounce spells and stuff. If I Lotus out my Omnath and he just bounces it, then I've just kept a card that doesn't do anything. This is probably the safest keep, the lowest variance, and probably with the double mulligan and going second, that's what I ultimately decided I needed to do. So he leads with the Hinterland Harbor. And let's get going. Oh, Mindslaver. Well, that could prove to be interesting later on in the game. I like having that in my hand as a possible panic button. I'm just going to play Draga Tree Speaker, obviously over casting Utopia Sprawl, since I want to be able to level it up next turn. Oh, yuck. Well, speaking of Jeweled Lotus, he's got it too. And his commander, much, much, much more dangerous when it comes down on turn 3, thanks to Gilded Lotus. And of course, he can't use the triggered ability until later, but it's going to cascade, and it could put a bunch of mana directly into play. It could put a 4-mana thing into play, potentially, like a, I don't know, Explosive Vegetation or something that would put 2 more lands out. I'm just trying to roll the dice on the cascade here, and hopefully it's not too good for him. 5 cards, and he's got, that's funny. It did not escape. It just goes to the graveyard. But still, it allows him to mana ramp and draw a card by nature of being Uro. So he gets a fetch land in play, gets 3 mana. It's going to ramp him closer. Good to see he's playing with this brand new Simic land, new tropical island. These things are so cool. I'm so glad they're in the format. Oh man, what are you doing back? I thought we had a talk. Get back in my deck, you dumbass. All right, I'm going to just throw a Utopia Sprawl, of course, on the forest, and then level up the Tree Speaker. So I'm keeping some decent parity. I've got 5 mana in play. I'm only 1 turn away from being able to deploy this Mindslaver, but we've got a race on our hands. I assume that he's probably got a lot of really, really powerful high-end things. The Uro is a strange choice, to be honest, but I'm sure he's got a reason for that being in the deck. And that is a powerful card. That's Grim Monolith. Eesh. Okay, well, he's going to have access to upwards of 7 mana next turn unless I do something about it. And I think if I were him, I probably would have attacked there, given the fact that there's no in hell I'm going to block with Draga Tree Speaker, and he'd be able to just recast Imoti and get the Cascade again next turn if he wanted to. So, he's got a Grim Monolith in play. As much as I would like to, I guess I have enough mana to do this. Yeah, I'm going to Nature's Lore first. So I go get a Forest, and that gives me enough mana, thanks to the Jiraga, to cast Green Sun Zenith for 3, which of course gets Reclamation Sage and blows up the Grim Monolith to keep the big mana spells off my back just for a little bit longer. But this is getting scary pretty quick here. All right. It's not too far from being able to escape with Uro either. All right. No land coming down. He's got Cursor of Krufix. Oh, Jesus. When he plays this card, I just slump in my chair. That is so backbreaking. So any notion that I have of bringing out the Mindslaver next turn and trying to get him, to run his Imoti into my creature or something to kill it is just immediately banished when he reveals a free strip mine off the top. That is just absolutely worst case scenario. And look, another land on top of the deck too. Ay, ay, ay. So I lose 2 mana, basically just gets a free Soul Ring kill. And he's got more mana waiting in the wings. Of course, he won't be sacking his Misty Rainforest since he just needs to get to 6. I'm in deep shit now. Like, there's just no question in my mind that suddenly I'm in big trouble. So I have nothing really better to do except for just cast Regrowth. And I'm going to get my land back and just anemically cast my Omnath. And so now my hope really here is that he gets extremely unlucky with this Courser. And it doesn't allow you to play extra lands a turn, which is really key. So he may not get to 6 for a little while. And if I can somehow ramp up Omnath over 2 turns, I might be able to slam this Terastodon on him and blow up 3 of his lands, and then really just keep him off of any ability to utilize his commander's triggered ability for a while. So that's my hope at this point. I know it's probably wishful thinking, but sometimes that's really your only out. Ugh, Shaman of Forgotten Ways. Yeah, it's pretty intense. I imagine he's got some big dudes cast. This card is really, really good. And look, if you have Formidable, it allows you to tap to cast Biorhythm. I thought that card was banned in the format for some reason. All right. Well, there's 6 land and Nyx Bloom, or 5 mana and Nyx Bloom Ancient. Yeah, he's not playing around. Yikes. All right, so there's definitely some sort of combo-ness going on here. And of course, the Nyxbloom Ancient, if he's able to cast it, will cascade straight into, and he's going to escape with Uro, which I think is a great play, given the fact that he's loaded up the graveyard, and now he gets to get a 6/6 into play and draw a card and potentially explore as well. And it gets that Nyxbloom into his hand, and Jesus, he's at 6 now. This is, how the hell do I win this game? Like, this just seems impossible. Okay, now cursor attacks. Obviously, I'm not going to block it. All right, so now I'm feeling really, really nervous and very unhappy, to be honest, given the fact that he requested 8 power level and I'm getting manhandled. Now, objectively, I'd say that his deck on the scale of commander decks that you can face certainly feels like about an 8. But I'm getting heavily punished for playing with Omnath, and that strip mine was just so brutal. Yikes. And the win streak, very, very much in jeopardy. All right, Forest helps. Absolutely helps a lot. Of course, I could cast the Mindslaver here, but there's no way in hell I'm going to expose it to both counter magic or to removal, as it's sort of my only hope. So I'm just going to chill here and just hope that that Nyxbloom Ancient doesn't cascade into something deadly. And look, there's another land right on top, so it's inevitable at this point. Oh man, oh look, Jiraga Tree Speaker came back too. Guess he just did not want to be left out of the party. Okay. Down comes another land. All right, now what is going to happen here? That looks like 7 mana. Oh, Nexus of Fate. I would not have expected that, but I expect that if you've got Cascade abilities, might as well get a free spell. Of course, we know that that card is only a Jiraga Tree Speaker, but still, taking an extra turn and cascading into a Tree Speaker, can't complain about that. It's going to allow him to think about attacking as well. And he elects not to attack with Uro, given the fact that I have enough mana to make Omnath a 7/7. So there's a Sylvan Library on top, okay. He's going to cascade into that. I suppose there's way worse things he could cascade into, like more Time Walks, for example. Can you imagine he casts Nyxbloom Ancient and cascades into Time Warp or something, and then untaps with 8,000 mana in play, and I'm just insta-dead. So down comes Nyxbloom Ancient, and it cascades into Sylvan. And my god, this is insane. World Breaker. All right, killing more land. Jiraga Tree Speaker, once leveled up. So this thing taps for 3 mana. Jiraga Tree Speaker taps for 6. Yeah, move over Gilded Lotus. God, that's so crazy. Okay, taps for 7. Does he have anything else more insane to do? Oh my god, I'm so lucky he doesn't have anything else to do. Okay. So Uro slams in here. I'm not really sure. I guess he's just doing this to cycle his deck. He doesn't even really care about the Uro at that point, which is something I can completely understand. This is going to allow me to just kill it for free, which is kind of nice. And I didn't give any... There was no hesitation whatsoever about, he might have a giant growth effect or something. At this point, I'm so blown out of this game anyway. Like, really, I got to just kind of take chances anyway and just try to play for the best board state possible. So that puts the Uro in the graveyard. Zendikar Resurgence. Jesus, another insane Mana Flare effect. So Uro takes down, or Omnath takes down the Uro. He's got a bazillion mana post-combat by nature of playing 1 land. Oh god, don't be another Time Walk. Oh, no, it's not a Time Walk. It's just Vorinclex. An 8-drop cascading into another Mana Flare. Zendikar Resurgent, and look what's on top of the library. Nexus of Fate. Oh my god, I am so dead. Vorinclex. Jesus Christ, look at the board. This is 1 turn. Like, you want to talk about a rule-breaking card. Nyxbloom Ancient does insane things. And I have some other videos, I think, where I've played this card in multiplayer. I don't use it in my normal Omnath deck, because it's very much win more, at least in this deck. But in multiplayer, it's just hilariously insane. All right, Nexus of Fate being cast next turn. 100% dead if he gets to untap. There is no doubt about that. But we got Mindslaver. There is hope. We'll see what happens. All right. Come on, deck. Ooh, Tooth and Nail. Well, that's very interesting. And as tempted as I would normally be to play Tooth and Nail, and I certainly would have played it otherwise, I don't imagine Tooth and Nail does much of anything. I mean, yeah, I could go get, I don't know, Duplicant and Void Winnower or something, and I could Duplicant this. But all my mana is going to be tapped. There's no way that that's a play that wins the game. There is only one chance, and that's Mindslaver. And him not having any counter magic at all. All these beautiful lands. At this point, I'm not even paying attention to the fact that they get tapped. It really doesn't even matter. There's not going to be another turn. All right, all 12 mana. Here we go. Mindslaver It resolves. Ow, I got him. I got his turn. Now the question is, what can I do with his turn? All right, so this is Placebo's hand, and I'm actually using his Sylvan as well. Migration Path, not really relevant right now, but it is a reshuffle. He's got Nexus of Fate. Of course, I'm not going to be casting this. This is not even a targeted thing. It's not target player as some of the other Time Walks are. Worldbreaker, definitely not being cast. But this is important, actually, because Migration Path actually gives me a very, very precious reshuffle. But he's got Thrasios in play, too. And I'm starting to kind of look at this thinking, wait a minute. Well, he has, how many lands are in play? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These are all tripled. So that's 27 mana. This Mana Vault taps for 9. This taps for 6. We're looking at like upwards of 34, 35 mana. Oh, wait, I take that back. There's Zendikar Resurgent in play, too. These are all tapping for 4. So that's, what was that again? 5, 9, 36. 36 mana plus 9, 45, plus the Draga Tree Speaker, providing another 6 is 51 mana at my disposal. And with Thrasios in play, unfortunately the lands come into play tapped, but with Thrasios in play, I'm going to be able to dig pretty deep into his deck. And the advantage also of having the Cursor in play means that I get a little bit of foresight about whether or not I need to shuffle too. So I'm going to draw with the Sylvan. And of course I'm going to use it. There's a capture at Jingzhou, which of course I cannot cast either because it's take an extra turn rather than target player. And I was thinking I could do something cool where I would stack up a bunch of targeted Time Walks on me, which would actually give me a route to possibly win. So looking at this situation, I figure, okay, well, I haven't looked inside of his deck yet. There may be some instant win conditions for me once I have control of his turn. There also may just be the weird roundabout way of just trying to dig deep enough into the deck to do the targeted Time Walks. And if I can give myself, I think, 2 turns extra, I can get all of his creatures tapped. Unfortunately, my next turn, I'm completely tapped out, so that blunts one of my turns. So I'm probably going to need 3, but if I have 3 turns to pump Omnath and attack, I can probably just kill him with commander damage. That might be enough. So that gives me some hope, but I haven't even looked inside of his deck yet. I know he's obviously got a million Time Walks, so I'm going to draw all 3. That puts the Time Walk on top of the library. Okay. So, oh my god, these lands are tapping for 5 each. Oh, it's obviously Vorinclex too. I forgot about it. It's weird you forget about Vorinclex. Just kind of shows you how ridiculous Nyxbloom Ancient is. So every land is tapping for 5. It's 45 mana from his lands, and I haven't even played any yet. And there's 6 from this is 51, plus the Mana Vault is 60. All right, if I can't somehow figure out how to have him kill himself with 60 mana, I probably suck at this game. All right, so I'm going to play the Sensei's Divining Top right now. And top of the library is not good. So I'm going to just look to see if there's anything groovy there right now. Obviously, 1 mana is pretty pointless. Return target mana you own to the battlefield. Okay, well, that doesn't really do anything. Okay, so this looks like I'm going to be casting Migration Path before I start doing anything with the Thrasios. I'm going to play that land just for kicks. Probably a mistake to do that, honestly, because he almost certainly has Gaia's Cradle in his deck, as it's not that expensive online. And that could be Gaia's Cradle under the Nyxbloom Ancient is pretty insane. I can imagine a tap for like 50 or 60 mana. Just the land on top. But I figure he's probably got a bunch of Explore style effects anyway. And if I can throw a bunch of cards in the graveyard anyway, I can just escape with Uro again. At which point I'll be able to just play a second land anyway if I do encounter the Cradle. So it's not that big of a concern. Okay. Tap a bunch of mana. This is just totally outrageous. All right, so first reshuffle. Oh, sorry, I don't want to. Okay, good. I'm not resolving it. Okay, so I get to look at his deck. This is key. So what do we got here? There's so many cards in here I don't even recognize. Yeah, that thing's insane. I've played against that as a commander. That incidentally is the commander that beat me when I was playing my budget Nin deck and snapped my first win streak. Look at the top 5 cards of the library if you control more, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's kind of cool. These are all just very expensive. What does Beanstalk Giant do? Oh, it's just a rampant growth. Castle Garenbeg. There's Capture again. We saw that. Consecrate Sphinx. Dig Through Time. Cultivate. This deck is so cool. We'll get to that guy in a bit. Galandra. Huh. That's pretty cool, too. There's all these neat cards in here I've not seen. Hour of Promise. What does this do? Okay. Carnes, Temporal Center. Oh, target player takes an extra. Okay, so there's one of them. There's one of the targeted Time Walks. Lay Claim. That doesn't really matter. There's another mana flare effect. There's an Oko, of course. There's Part the Water Veil. That's another non-targeted Time Walk. What does Time Stretch do? Target player takes 2 turns after. Okay, there we go. Win condition acquired. And Time Warp also is in there too. And Walk the Aeons. Target player. All right, there's a lot of them in the deck, actually. And a bunch of other cool stuff. But check this out. Palinchron is in the deck. Infinite Mana Engine. And he's got Thrasios in play and Palinchron in his deck. Things are looking up. And then I look at the deck a little further, and I see this guy, Gadwick the Wizened, a card I've never seen before. When Gadwick the Wizened enters the battlefield, draw X cards. It's Brain Geyser on a creature. Brain Geyser. Sounds good. Okay, so just going to go get a land. They come onto the battlefield tapped, but it's more importantly, there's a reshuffle. So some cursor action here. There's a Trinket Mage on top. I can first use the Divining Top here to take a look again. Sorry, there's a bunch of windows open here. Let me close the placebo thing. So I'm going to just use Thrasios' ability with my copious mana to put the Trinket Mage into play. Waker of Waves. Huh. Not really that exciting. Don't really care about that. I can play the Trinket Mage, though, to cycle past it. I wonder if I can resize this where it doesn't keep getting giant. Bear with me here, guys. All right. Just fooling around with my mana. So this allows me to reshuffle. There's a Cultivate there. Oh, that's right. And I'm drawing a card every turn, too, because of Zendikar Resurgent, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so let's go fetch. Of course, I'll use the ability. Soul Ring, pretty good card. Taps for... Oh, actually, of course, I'm getting Mana Crypt. This taps for 6. There's Green Sun Zenith on top. That's close to the win condition, but unfortunately, it only gets Palinchron. It doesn't get... it does not get the... it doesn't get the wizard. And Palinchron is blue. Green Sun Zenith Tracker and Treachery. That's so amazing, too. Treachery makes, what, 25 mana? I guess it makes 20 mana. Kind of a good card. So I'm going to draw the Treachery. Float a bunch of mana here. Play Treachery on his own guy. And now I'm going to use some Thrasios action. Put the Divining Top back into play. Draw the Tracker. Since I figure I'm going to be playing some other lands here. And that draws a card anyway, so it just sort of cycles right through the back into the top. Take a look at the top 3 again, I think. So you notice something actually happened right there, I think. Yeah, you notice my mana pool cleared out. So huge amount of time has gone off my clock, like way more than should have happened. So somewhere in here, I'm not sure exactly when it happened. I think it happened right around here. My freaking router restarted. And so I couldn't do anything for a while, and I had to go and manually restart the router. At one point, I actually connected Magic Online to my phone, or my computer to my phone, and got back in. I was really hoping, because this was just so cool, I was hoping that my opponent wouldn't just concede once I disconnected. And sure enough, he was still waiting around. I think he just probably went AFK, honestly. But I came back, and the UI wouldn't let me do anything. I had all this mana sitting in my pool. I couldn't click on anything. I clicked and clicked and clicked frantically, trying to get it to re-engage, and the clock was just ticking, 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 ticking. And eventually, the little 4-minute warning popped up, and then it went to 3 minutes and 2 minutes and 1 minute, and I was panicking. So unable to still do anything at all and about to get timed out, I clicked on OK to go through the combat step, thinking that maybe that might resume things. And lo and behold, it did. Whew. Got me back into being able to do stuff again. So I'm back to adding billions of mana to the mana pool. Played the top. That was very scary. Zenith, Ristic Study, Cavern of Souls. Okay, well, none of those are particularly good, so I'm going to just use Thrasios here, I think. Yeah, just use Thrasios. And then I can cast the Zenith. And I remember thinking, like, what do I cast this for? And I think I'm just casting Zenith. I'd kind of forgotten. In the panic, I'd forgotten what was in the deck. But I figure 8 mana Zenith probably gets just about anything that I would really want. And obviously it triggers the Cascade as well. Unfortunately, it's just going to trigger a Ristic Study into play, which doesn't really do anything. But I get to look through the deck again. What are the options at 8 mana? This thing's pretty awesome. So there's an extra land drop, which is pretty important. There's no Greaves or anything, so that's not really No ability to use any mana creatures. And I see Oracle of Moldea. And Oracle of Moldea stacked against AC just seems better to me. So I think that's what I ultimately decide to get. Does he have Gaea's Cradle in here? EFG. He does indeed. Hopefully we'll find that. Okay, so after putting Oracle of Moldea into play, of course, right away, right on top is this Tyrant. And there's Gaea's Cradle as well. Unreal. All right, so I've got an extra land drop. I can just play that for free. Tracker makes a clue. Yeah, Gaea's Cradle, pretty good under these circumstances. The clock is still getting eaten up here. I'm going to draw with a clue. Draw into that guy's nice, yummy Ancient Tomb. And look at that. Right on the top of the deck is Palinchron. Infinite mana acquired. Thrasios in play. We got it. Unbelievable. So incredible to be in this situation a turn ago, facing down basically infinity mana, and the one card, probably in the whole format, certainly the one card in mono green that could pull out this game, happens to be in my hand, and thanks to Omnath's mana generation ability, I'm able to actually cast the Mindslaver and use it. So Palinchron's on top. We are on easy street here. God, the mana production is so completely disgusting. And there's no punish at all anymore about, What are you doing? No punish at all anymore about having to pass through the attack step either and drain out my mana pool, since that's sort of irrelevant now. That's right, it's cascading. So he's taking an extra turn, which is kind of funny. All right, Palinchron comes down. And I really wish that Placebo had been paying attention at this point, because obviously, seeing me play Palinchron with Thrasios in play means the game is effectively over. But I'm still struggling with the stupid interface after the disconnection, and intermittently unable to click anything. So it takes me forever to untap 7 land, for example. But I finally get it done. God, how much is that Cradle tapped for? Like 50 mana. So amazing. All right, I'm just going to start Thrasiosing as quickly as I can here. I'm going to cycle Palinchron a couple times since it cascades every time too, so I can just cast everything off the top. Yep. Just adding more mana here. Use Thrasios a bit. All right, I can either run him out of cards, but I'm really concerned I'm not going to be able to do it in time. I really need to get to the Brain Geyser card. All right, still going. Botanical Sanctum, I'm just going to scry and scry and scry here. Past all the lands. Oh my gosh. Gadwick has arrived. And that's it. That's it. The unwinnable game is over. Or is it? Because literally at this exact second, the instant I revealed Gadwick the Wizened, suddenly the UI completely locked up. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't click on anything. There's nothing I could do at all. And obviously, all I need to do is just tap Gaea's Cradle, tap a couple of land. I don't even need to tap anything. He's got 51 cards left in his library. I already have more than enough to kill him. This is draw X cards, so he's decked and dead. And I could not click on anything. And I clicked and clicked and clicked, and I begged the interface to do anything. And I sent a message to Placebo, and I said, hey, man, you can see Gadwick's on the next card in your library. I have infinite mana. I can draw him. Nothing's going to stop me from winning this game. And I've got a 41-game win streak going. Could you please do the gentlemanly thing and concede so I can maintain my win streak? And no reply. Dead silence. And I asked again, and I asked again. And a few minutes later, the dreaded timer came up. And I asked again. And then I messaged him directly, and no response, and dead silence. And it went from 3 minutes to 2 minutes to 1 minute. And there's nothing I could do. I couldn't click on anything. Oh, actually, I guess it didn't quite happen at this point. I think it was when I returned Palinchron to my hand. And then look at that. My clock, you can see about 10 minutes burned off of it, somewhere in there, maybe 8 or 9 minutes. I could not click on anything. I had the kill right on top of the library. Is there anything more frustrating than that? After all the work I put in, like 2 months worth of one games, to be at this stage in this game, totally dramatic and basically coming back from an unwinnable position, and I can't cast the lethal card due to this stupid Magic Online UI. Oddly enough, the entire replay still works, but you notice I had to end his turn. So I was appealing to the guy's sensibilities. I sent him another message. I said, could you please just concede the game? Obviously, I had this game won. And hoping he would come back. I figured he was just AFK because, you know, he knew he was basically dead at that point and he was just waiting for me to kill him. But so my one hope was that if I ended the turn and reset the clock and put the clock back on him, that he might just be AFK. So you can see his clock is at 53:28 or something. And then a couple minutes go by and he comes back. And he starts doing stuff. And he starts casting spells. And he casts some more time walks. I mean, yeah, it's like, it doesn't matter, right? Just go ahead and do your stuff. And I'm still hoping he's just kind of going through the motions and having a good time. And that he's still going to just concede as I had basically won the game. But as time goes by, it's looking increasingly like that's not the case. And he's just making more mana and doing stuff. And of course I don't block. And I take 1 billion damage, and then he discards a whole bunch of cards and untaps. Sigh. Frustrating, guys. And I'm dead. And that's it. And the one saving grace is I talked to one of my online friends about what happened, and he said that he's actually played against placebo, and he specifically says that chat is turned off. So I guess it's possible that he just didn't see that I was messaging him frantically, asking him to concede and explaining what was happening. But I messaged him also directly as through the game's extremely primitive and crude messenger service, and he never replied there either. So who knows? It doesn't really matter, I suppose, but RIP win streak. You can see it right here. There's the loss with my casual deck. Right there, that's a free-for-all game. That's just a draw. That doesn't count. But you can see the last loss was this Rastafarian guy way back in March. And then I won all these games down to here. All the way down to here. And there we go. There's the loss with the casual deck against General CJ. And then another 41 games won in a row. Finally playing placebo. You can see the time. 4:06 in the morning. Ridiculous. 0-1. And then ironically, or I should say coincidentally, I lost the next game too. So the win streak would have been lost anyway, and all of that frantic freak out was for nothing. But man, Wizards, just get your act together. Fix your stupid UI. I understand that you care more about Arena than you do about Magic Online at this point. And for all we know, they're probably going to just scrap or retire Magic Online or something down the road. I hope that doesn't happen because it's the only way to play these old fun formats. And it would really impede my enjoyment and ability to play Magic if they did stop hosting Magic Online. Maybe they won't, just because the legal reasons. People have invested so much money in their collections. But the curation for this program is just miserable and has been miserable for years and years and years. But astonishingly, despite the terrible curation, this replay actually worked. You guys got to see it. Legit win. As far as I'm concerned, the streak is, well, actually, the streak was alive for one more game. I may visit that game actually down the road. But wanted to whine a little bit, show you what happened, at least revel in the glory of what could have been and I guess what sort of effectively was. And just got back on the horse after those 2 losses effectively, and I think I'm on a 20-game win streak again. So there'll be more games coming down the road. Thanks for bearing with me and for hearing all that out. I hope you did enjoy the game and saw Omnath pull out really an unwinnable game from the jaws of defeat with the mighty Mindslaver. More games coming soon, guys. Take care.